For over 25 years as an attorney and as a professor, I've represented students, faculty, and professionals in investigations throughout the country. And after hundreds of investigations, I've come to learn one incontrovertible truth. People don't lose because of the accusations. They lose because of how they respond to the accusations. Here's 10 things never to do in any investigation. Number one, people react emotionally and catastrophically. Once they are accused of something, they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to get thrown out of school. It's over. I'm finished. And then they react instead of responding. They fire off emails. They post on social media. They send letters to the university or to the boss. And then they realize later when things calm down that they said things they wish they hadn't said. But guess what? That's now become permanent evidence in the record. So don't react emotionally. Don't catastrophize. Okay? Everything's going to be okay if you stay calm, you formulate a strategy, and you focus on the facts. Number two, they fight the investigation instead of the allegation. I can't tell you how many times people who are accused say, the investigator is biased. The counsel has a conflict of interest. The dean hates me. My teacher is targeting me. What they're doing is they're fighting the investigation. But what does that do to disprove the allegations against you? What does it do to show you're innocent? Absolutely nothing. And while they're wasting all that time focusing on the investigation, they're spending no time on what matters, the allegation. So don't fall into that trap. Number three, fighting every argument and talking too much. Now, when you're in an investigation, you got to realize that nobody's perfect. You probably did some things that you regret, made some mistakes that you regret. It's okay to concede that in an investigation and say, well, I wish I had done this or that differently. Because when you do that, you increase your credibility. You show yourself as an honest, responsible, and reasonable person. And conceding unfavorable facts or past mistakes doesn't mean that you're not going to get the outcome you want. In fact, it often means the opposite, because the decision makers view you as credible. And when they do, they're more likely to rule in your favor. So admit some small mistakes. It's okay. And then show why it shouldn't affect the outcome that you're seeking. Number four, constantly contacting the university and thinking the university is going to do something about it. Guess what? The university won't. Once again, instead of responding to the allegations, you're firing off letters to the university. This is totally unfair. This professor is targeting me. This process is tainted. The dean has been after me from day one. You need to realize that there's a conflict of interest in the honor council, and that has to change, and the university is going to sit there and they're going to do nothing. But they're going to think that you're unstable. They're going to think that you're reckless. They're going to think that you're reactive. And when they have that perception, the odds of them finding in your favor plummet. And once again, you become the one who's convicting yourself. Number five, thinking more evidence is always better. One thing I always tell my clients is you have to focus on the specific allegation. Focus narrowly on the specific allegation against you and the specific policy that you allegedly violated. Any other evidence that you have that is irrelevant, extraneous, or doesn't go to disprove your guilt means nothing. So you may have great evidence, but if the evidence doesn't directly go to your case and to getting the outcome you want, it's useless. So more evidence isn't better. The right evidence is better. Number six, raising every possible legal theory. So indignant about what you perceive as false allegations and an unjust process, you start firing off letters or contacting various departments saying, I'm being retaliated against. I'm being discriminated against. This is a Title IX violation. This is a violation of the ADA. This is negligence. I'm being harassed. I'm being defamed. So you throw in a multitude of legal claims, which in most cases there's not an actual credible legal basis for. Once again, you lose your focus. It looks like you're throwing anything up against the wall to make it stick. It looks like you're fighting so hard to show your innocence that, in fact, you look guilty. That's not how innocent people behave. It makes you look desperate. And when you look desperate, guess what? The perception of you is not good, and you wind up, once again, convicting yourself. Number 7, getting trapped by the unfairness and injustice of the process and letting it ruin your strategy. I fully acknowledge that in HR investigations, not always, but in some HR investigations, at universities, in the workplace, investigations may seem unfair. It may seem like people are believing allegations that you know to be false, and that they're not giving you a sufficient opportunity to be heard, or it seems like they're essentially, prejudiced against you and destined to rule against you. You cannot, and this is critical, you cannot let unfairness and injustice mess up your strategy, because all that will do is cause you to once again start focusing on the investigation instead of the allegation. I understand how much it hurts to go through the trauma of an investigation, to be falsely accused, but if you start focusing on that, then you're not focusing calmly and confidently on defending the allegation, getting documentary evidence, contacting witnesses if there are, getting a timeline of the events, and any other evidence that shows that you didn't do it or that there's not enough evidence to show that you did. Okay? So don't fall into the injustice and unfairness trap, because universities, at least most of them, they're not focused always on who's right or who's wrong. They're focused on doing the thing that carries the least risk of a lawsuit, of problems. Okay? And if you show yourself to be unhinged, not credible, you are the problem. You're the problem they have to manage, or in some cases, eliminate. So remember that. Don't get trapped by unfairness and injustice. Focus on the allegation, and you'll find yourself being more successful and ultimately getting the result that you want. Number 8, forgetting who you're trying to persuade. I can't tell you how many people, when they're faced with an allegation, they write letters to the dean. I'm innocent. They contact the accuser. How could you do this to me? They contact the faculty mentor. Please help me. I didn't do this. They post on social media. They tell their friends or their classmates or their coworkers. You're spending a lot of energy talking to people who have nothing to do with the ultimate decision that's going to be made. There's one person or one panel that you have to persuade. Those are the decision makers. And everything you say outside of that, it's not going to persuade anyone, at least not anyone that matters. And what it can do is it can create a further evidentiary record showing that you made contradictory or inconsistent statements and the like. Don't try to persuade everyone. Try to persuade the one that matters. Number 9, trying to tell the entire story. Once again, I can't tell you how many times when someone is faced with a distinct allegation, plagiarism, cheating on an examination, saying something inappropriate to a coworker, when they're asked to present their case, they don't focus solely on the allegation. They tell their entire story of their interactions with this person dating to day one when they met them. And they go on, including all this irrelevant and extraneous information. Well, what does that do? It does absolutely nothing, except they wind up not paying attention to you. They wind up wondering why you're talking about irrelevant things, okay? And then they lose sight of what's really important because it's buried in this long speech that you're giving about nothing that really matters. That's the worst possible thing you can do. Don't tell the entire story. Tell the story that matters. Number 10. You're trying to convince the university that it's wrong rather than trying to persuade the decision maker to rule in your favor. Stop trying to get the university to help you. Stop trying to get the university to acknowledge that they're wrong or that their process is unjust or that you weren't treated fairly. It's not going to work. They're not going to do anything. And once again, you're diverting your energy from what really matters, the person actually making the decision that's going to impact your career. So not only should you know what to argue, you need to know how to argue it and who to argue it to. And if you're one of these people who spends hundreds of hours on extraneous things, attacking the university, the investigation, talking to friends, posting on social media, then don't be surprised when you get an adverse ruling against you because you didn't spend the time on the one thing that mattered, the allegation. And I'm going to give you one more bonus tip that I've seen in investigations throughout the country. People don't realize that how you present yourself is equally, if not more important, than what you say. If you're at a hearing or if you're talking to, an honor council or your boss, what you say matters, but how you present yourself matters. Do you come across as calm, humble, confident? Do you listen to questions? Do you answer them directly? Do you acknowledge mistakes that you've made? Are you honest? Or are you emotional? Are you coming into the hearing, making accusations, attacking your accuser, attacking the process, crying, raising your voice, getting aggressive, cutting people off? That is a one-way ticket to getting fired, to getting expelled. How you present yourself is everything. Because ultimately, decision makers are going to hear contrasting sides of a story. Often they don't know what to believe, but they know who is more believable. And that's why how you present yourself is as important, if not more, than what you say. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see you soon.